Thank you all for coming out tonight. As I was getting ready to do this, I realized that I hadn't actually been up on stage in front of this many people since I played Lady Macbeth for about 300 high school students. And I said, there's a really misunderstood female character. And you think I'm kidding, but I'm not about that. My name is Melody Brooks, and I want to welcome you all here on behalf of the League of Professional Theater Women, the New Perspectives Theater Company, and the Women's Project. I also want to thank Julie Crosby and the Women's Project for housing the event tonight. And for the staffs of both of our organizations who've really made it all happen. Tell you what's on their minds. I just want to take a moment to explain briefly how we arrived at this event and what we hope to accomplish. In early July, I called Susan Jonas, who is here in the black dress, because I had read an article in the New York Times, and I'm guessing a lot of you read it too, which seemed to indicate some very startling facts about female representation, female playwrights, female directors. And I knew from our work years back with the report on the status of women in theater that Susan co-authored with Suzanne Bennett, that it didn't really seem to add up. So we had done a couple panels back then, and I knew if anybody could dispel the misperceptions and sort of put a stop to some of the sound bites that were coming out from the Times article, that it would be Susan. So I called her and I said, we want to do this again, let's put together another panel. And she had a better idea. Not that she didn't want to put together a panel, but in terms of what we wanted to focus on. She said, we know there's a problem. We've known it for a long time. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Yes, so you heard someone say that. Now, that wasn't the exact language that she used. I couldn't in polite company. So, what I had envisioned as a small gathering in our little 40-seat theater, actually not theater, studio, on 37th Street, has grown into this. And I think the fact that this is the last Tuesday in August, and more than 200 people responded to our invitation, not all have showed up, but quite a number, we're very close to that. The time when typically most mortals flee the city and don't come back or resurface till after Labor Day, you guys are here. So I think that there's something to be said for the need for action. And the fact that there is a problem was amply proven in the 2002 report. And tonight we want to move beyond the data and encourage all of you to take part in the process of setting some goals, but we really do want to revisit some of that information. So Susan Jonas is going to be reviewing what was learned from her report and other studies. She's going to talk a little bit about why we need more consistent research and provide the framework for the rest of the discussion from the panels. Julie Crosby, who's on the end, and Elizabeth Van Dyke, who's sitting next to her, will speak from a producing point of view, not just about the difficulties, which many, many, many people in this room know all about, and it's not unique to women, but through their experience, what are some things that might make a difference. Linda Weiner, who's here, is going to talk about, yes, please, anytime you want to applaud for anyone on this stage. She's going to talk to us about the role of criticism and critics and why it matters. That, I think you're the only one, right? The only first-rate critic in this area?
I was until very recently.
Okay, so now you have someone else here. Yeah. Still, she's going to tell you why it matters that there aren't more. Two doesn't really change the equation. Alexis Green, who's sitting next to Elizabeth, she's going to talk about publishing. Where are the plays by women? Why aren't they available? And how can we do something about that? Lily Behringer, who's right next to me, is going to tell us about the important role that women have played throughout theater history. Most of us don't know it. It's not taught. And she's going to talk about what we lose by not having access to our heritage, why this all matters rolled into one. And then last but certainly not least, Natasha Griffith, who's sitting right in the center. Yes, we're really glad to have her because she's not a theater person. And one of the things that we're really interested question, which is essentially an employment and social and cultural question, and beyond just the notion of theater, but how does it play out in the rest of the world, and what have been successful practices to close the gender gap in other fields. So that's really exciting that we have, you know, a policy legislative person here to talk to us about that. So we're going to try to keep it short up here. Each panelist, like 5 to 7 minutes, except for Susan. She gets to go longer because she's really the reason we're all here tonight. And then we're going to take a very short break, so you can refill your glasses, stretch your legs, say hi to the person across the room that you didn't get to meet when they first came in. Come back and take some questions from you. And I am going to ask you to really ask questions that dig deeper to what we're talking about here, as opposed to broadening the issues to everything. We want to really get at things that can create change. And finally, we're going to ask you to break into small groups and start that engine of change right here in this room, in this corner or out there or out in the lobby. One of the panelists will lead you, and we've got a few other folks who have agreed to be group leaders, and just brainstorm some goals, some action agenda items, because what we really want to do is create a 10-year plan that is going to be launched next year in 2010, culminating in 2020, which will be the centennial of American women gaining the right to vote. And let's see how close we can get to 50-50 and what it's going to take to achieve it. And going back to my earlier references, Lady Macbeth would put it, I want to generate a list tonight that we can all point to and say, thus thou must do if thou have it.